All right, everybody, welcome. We are here on a live Zoom call with Dr. John Mullen. He's a physical therapist at CORE in Santa Clara. That's spelled C-O-R, not like my core balance with the E in it. John, welcome. Thanks for joining me.
Yeah, thanks, Chris. Thanks for having me.
Yeah. So I know you and I share a very similar philosophy as far as injury prevention, and you're always reaching for that next level as far as fitness goes. But of course, we don't want to sacrifice our joint integrity, our physical health, and things like that in the process. So, what would you say? Like, what would be your main advice to either athletes, or whether they're at a high level, or weekend warriors, or just getting started? What advice would you give them?
Yeah, definitely. Obviously we work with a wide range of people, whether it's, youth athletes, elite athletes, or just like you said, weekend warriors or general population. And no matter kind of where you are on that spectrum, I think the main thing is if you are having injury or, pain at all, or maybe you're just not sure if it's an injury pain or a soreness pain, to bring it up either with your trainer, your coach, or, going to seek early intervention with a healthcare professional. It does work with active people. Oftentimes we see people kind of waiting for a while or hoping it will go away. And before you know it, especially in the adult or weekend warrior population, God, it's been a year or two and you've just been kind of ignoring it. And that makes it much harder to resolve some of these things, which start pretty innocuous or pretty small, that can be addressed early on and maybe only limit or require slight adjustment and training for a day or two versus it elongating into a week thing, a month thing, or even longer if you really, wait around with it.
Mm-hmm. And that's really that's a good point. I find that the body has kind of an innate ability to heal most of those small little nagging injuries.
Mm-hmm.
And like you said, you change the training for a day or two, and maybe do extra foam rolling, or maybe get a massage, or XYZ, and then boom, the body all of a sudden, wow, I don't have that pain anymore that I've been struggling with for a while. I think that's really good advice. One thing when people do ask me, because I'm again, I want to create strength, but I want to stay healthy in the process. So they ask, how do you get strong? I want to get really strong, and I look at the workout that they're doing, and they're like pounding the workout
Mm-hmm.
every day, full intensity. And the first thing I say is, you're really not going to get strong like that. You're breaking yourself down, and you're not giving yourself enough time to recover. So, yeah, that's really good advice. What's the most common injury that you see, and what's kind of a real quick way that you feel like people can eliminate that injury? If it's in the early stages, it's very light. Some things people can do to kind of take it into their own hands. What would you say to that?
Yeah, definitely. Low back pain is very common at our clinic as well as everywhere. It's the most common orthopedic type of thing, and most common thing in the weight room as well. So obviously first it's working with someone, making sure you're using proper form on things. I think that's a big thing that increases at least, weight room or personal training low back pain, is people just not doing proper form. But say you're pushing it, even if you have proper form, if you're, reaching, going towards maxes and things like that, you're putting your body under a good amount of stress that can increase its risk for injury. So if you start to have kind of a low back pain, usually it's, just a generalized low back pain, a simple thing someone can do is just go through all the ranges of motion. So just bending forward, touch the toes, side to side, to kind of get an assessment to see which one of those is most bothersome. And then the most common thing that we find helps people out is if they just hook their thumbs. I'm not sure if I can get in the video here. Hook their thumbs right underneath their rib cage, not in the middle of their spine, but right off to the side, and just dig their thumbs into the quadratus lumborum on both sides. That can really provide some relief. Obviously, there's a lot of different ways to go about it. With baseballs, lacrosse balls, we use a lot that can really get in there a little deeper. But a simple way is just to hook the thumbs in there and hang out there. Sometimes people don't do it for long enough. They'll do it for 5-10 seconds or whatever. But if you can work in that region for a few minutes, and then you can just kind of reassess those motions, oftentimes we see that can provide some relief and get people feeling a little bit better right away. And then obviously if it's not going away or helping out with that, obviously maybe working with someone, like I said, a massage therapist, a physical therapist, someone that works with active people that can get in there and just make sure this doesn't progress into something worse.
Yeah, it's funny you mentioned that, because I was just working on my quadratus lumborum just now with a little ball.
There you go. Yep.
It's the greatest. It's a little bit of soreness, a little bit of tightness, that will take it out. I like what you said also about doing the flexibility. And really, you can do this with any exercise. I like using stretches or gentle exercises as kind of an assessment.
Big time.
And you're asking yourself kind of, okay, where am I tight? And then once you do that assessment, like what you mentioned, might be a forward bend.
Mm-hmm.
There may be 5 different places you could feel tight. Maybe you feel tight calves, tight hamstrings, tight lower back. Maybe your
Mm-hmm.
neck is tight. And generally, where you feel that tightness, it can help to just kind of roll that area. And then like you said, reassess. I really like that. You got to
Yeah,
reassess
definitely.
using the stretches with the myofascial release. It's basically like you're giving yourself a massage, right? It's some good stuff.
You got it. And with most kind of active people injuries, a lot of it is mechanical, where, a lot of the soft tissue work does a trick. And luckily, trainers are getting better at prescribing or helping out with these things. So if you're communicating it with your trainer, they can often give you some effective things. And then once again, like we're talking about, do the test and then reassess. And then hopefully you can see it for yourself that it helped out and you can start taking health into your own hands a little bit more.
Yeah. And I think that's, one thing that you and I and people in the field know is that fitness is a 2-part system, right? First, you kind of break down the muscles systematically. So you're not just like annihilating the muscles, but there's a breakdown, right?
Yeah.
And then the second half of that, which I think many people, they neglect, or it's not as fun or whatever, it's the buildup, it's the rehabilitation. And there is, in a way, there's like a mini rehabilitation in between every single workout
Mm-hmm.
that, if you're hitting the weights, especially if you're going really hard, like you're getting up to that red line and you're not recovering, rehabilitating, taking care of yourself, you're just going to keep pounding yourself into the pavement. So
No, definitely. And, people in the fitness field for a while have been saying, recovery and monitoring recovery and tracking that is going to be kind of the next wave. And I haven't seen that full transition yet. It's still very heavy in the super high intensity fitness world. We're all endorphin crazy and love it. And on the fitness side or the sports side, they're trying to do better with sympathetic nervous system monitoring to see kind of, is the nervous system getting a big enough recovery? But we're still not great with that and being able to monitor recovery. But I think we all know the importance of it. I always say recovery is kind of like the vegetables of fitness, and we all know how important it is, but we just don't care or we ignore it, but it's huge. And if we neglect it for too long, usually, the stress builds up over time and you're just going to, kill that stress strain curve and something's going to happen eventually.
right. Absolutely. There's no doubt about it, and I notice with myself and with my clients is that the closer you get to that red level, I use kind of the quick code, ask them, are you in green, yellow, or red?
Yeah.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And generally we want to stay for, the warm up is green. We're doing range of motion, feeling
Mm-hmm.
good, stretching, activating certain muscles. And the workout really should be yellow.
Mm-hmm.
We don't want to be doing, 10, 20, 30 pounds over what our capacity is, right? So we want to kind of stay in that yellow zone. But, if you tiptoe into that red zone, that's just going to mean more recovery, So if you,
Yeah.
you do tiptoe, I mean, people are surprised when I tell them when I do, some of my heavier weight training that sometimes I'll only do 1 workout a week. And
Yeah.
people are absolutely shocked by that. And I say, look, recovery, this is all about recovery. I'm just stimulating my muscular and nervous system. And then we got to do the real work of recovering and eating, sleeping, that massage, self-massage, stretching, all that stuff. So,
No, definitely.
yeah, I think if that's the next wave, I'm on board. That's awesome.
Yeah, we'll see. I swear people have been talking about for a while, but I haven't seen that big transition yet. And with everything, you have to look at what the person's goals are, the risk reward of certain things. Even with some of our elite athletes, if they're in a swimming sport or something that's a high technical thing, we're not even pushing them in the red in the weight room that often because
Right.
is it really worth increasing their risk of injury or, impairing recovery when we know they're going to be going to the pool or going onto the mound and really stressing their body with very specific things. As much as we think, our weight room stuff is, getting more precise and specific, it's nowhere close to, the full sporting activity they're doing.
Right. The actual sport, the actual game,
Yeah,
the patterns of muscular recruitment that they're doing while they're swimming,
you got it.
you specialize in a lot of swimmers, right? You and your wife both swam in college and
Mm-hmm.
Tend to train a lot of swimmers. So yeah, that's a very precise, not only you're using tons of muscle strength, but it's very precise, right?
Exactly.
Goes.
And
Yeah.
if we trash them in the weight room, they're not recovering, they're sore. If they're super sore, their neuromuscular patterns are going to be off a little. And, we want them to be putting in their, to put in strength terms, their 1 RMs into the pool practice or at the competition where they're really stressing their neural system and pushing their bodies to the limits there, because that will have much better transfer. And, I could have a swimmer squat 400 pounds. That's the worst swimmer on the team. So it's one of those that does not translate 1-to-1. So as much as we like that, weight training world, I mean, we have to realize that it's not perfect 1-to-1 ratios, and we just have to look at the goals of the person and then sit back and realize how can we help them out in recovery, keeping them healthy, working on imbalances, improving just their general athleticism and strength. So hopefully you give them the tools to be able to improve their biomechanics when their coaches are having them, hey, change your arm position or do this. Oh, well, I'm more aware of my body and my sense of position from doing maybe some different neuromuscular stuff in the weight room, and boom, you're that person that gave them that next step to get to that next level.
Absolutely. Cool. Well, John, that's awesome. I think we hit him with that 1 point recovery. Dr. John Mullen from Core in Santa Clara. I'm Chris Janke-Bueno from My Core Balance. Any last words, John? And actually, what's your website as well?
So it's just training, COR or trainingcore.com. So yeah, be healthy and be strong, everyone.
Cool. I think there's going to be some memes made for your recovery is the vegetable of the fitness world.
Oh, can't wait. Just get me and Kanye on the meme city.